Have you ever wondered if changing your accent in English would mean losing a part of who you are? Maybe you've thought, if I change my accent, does that mean I'm pretending to be someone that I'm not? The truth is, you can improve your English without losing your identity. It's all about clarity, not pretending to be somebody else. Unless you're a spy. I'm Ben Latour, and since 2017, I've been helping non-native English speakers become clear, natural, impactful, and confident communicators in English. Using the same strategies I've used to learn 5 languages and pass for a native speaker in under 3 months, I've helped over 100 clients achieve the same in the last 3 years. Today, let's talk about one of the biggest concerns that I hear people when it comes to accents and speaking English. The fear that changing your accent means losing part of your identity. The reality is you don't have to erase your accent to communicate effectively. It's not about sounding perfect. It's about being clear and confident when you speak. Be who you are always. First, let's break down the difference between what an accent is and pronunciation. Your accent is the natural way you sound because of your native language. It gives you a unique voice. Pronunciation, however, is about saying words and sounds correctly, accurately. You can keep your accent while improving your pronunciation, and this will make you clearer and easier to understand if your pronunciation is good. That is the key, clarity. Here's where it gets more practical. One of the areas I work on with my clients is something called minimal pairs. These are words that sound almost identical to you, but have very different meanings, like sheep and ship, for example. The slight difference in E and I can change whether somebody hears I saw a sheep or I saw a ship. Maybe some funnier examples. Now think about how this plays out in a business meeting or a presentation. A small mistake like that can be very distracting from what you're trying to say and undermine your professionalism. But there is some good news. Not every little sound needs to be perfect. For instance, the difference between a t, d at the end of a word, baked or baked, these are small things and will not generally affect clarity. It won't make or break your communication. But focusing on the high impact sounds, like those in minimal pairs, will. It might sound the same to you, but native speaker hears a difference. Maya, a therapist, one of our clients, she was concerned about her accent, and she didn't want to lose it, but she needed to have her clients understand her clearly without effort. So we focused on the key sounds, the difference between, man, men, which were affecting how her message came across. And so by practicing these specific sounds, she became clearer, more confident, and she kept her natural accent intact to a certain extent. It added to her personal voice, but it didn't hold her back anymore. It's all about the balance. You don't need to sound like a native speaker to be an effective communicator. But what matters is that your speech is clear, it's professional, and that you feel confident. Improving your pronunciation of critical sounds will make a huge difference in how you're understood. And it will help you avoid common misunderstandings and embarrassing ones. But you can do all of this while keeping some parts of your accent that feel like you. Never pretend to be somebody else. But remember that pronunciation is a physical process. So if you consistently move your mouth in a way that's more adapted to another language, it will physically take you more energy to communicate in English. Physical training exercises and stretching can make this process a lot easier. Imagine if you train for a marathon, but suddenly you have to lift heavy weights above your head. You might be fit and strong, but it would be very difficult because you haven't trained for what you actually need those muscles for. Speaking is the same. You don't need to sound exactly like a native speaker, but there's a reason why native speakers don't get exhausted after a day of speaking English the same way you do. And they definitely don't lose confidence because they're worried that they're not saying things right, or that they won't be understood because of their pronunciation. Thankfully, you can learn how to do that very, very quickly if you have the right support and the right feedback. Just do not fall into the trap of training your speech without being certain that you're doing it right, or you run the risk of making things worse. I highly, highly recommend getting some feedback from a native speaker friend or colleague who'll be patient and tell you exactly what to adjust, how, and why. If you can't find someone like that, or your native speaker friends are too polite to correct you, reach out to me and we'll see if and how I can help. So if you've been worried that changing your accent means changing who you are, remember, your accent is a part of your identity, but it doesn't have to limit you. Focus on clarity, not necessarily perfection. If you want to work on your pronunciation, minimal pairs, rhythm, intonation, or simply becoming a more confident speaker, book a call with me. We'll see if we can work together and help you speak English clearly and naturally without losing what makes you, you. I remember the first day that I started working with my fitness trainer. He told me to stop exercising because I was doing more damage than anything. I was unconsciously building some bad habits in my body, and so I had to stop and make sure I was doing them correctly before I proceeded. This is exactly the same thing when you're speaking and you're trying to improve your pronunciation. If you're practicing things but you're not doing it right, you run the risk of building some very strong bad habits. And it's likely what you've been doing over the past 5, 10, 15 years of speaking English. So don't waste any more time. Stop what you're doing right now, identify what those problem areas are, get some feedback, and if you need to, send me a message and we'll build a custom plan for you. An assessment so we can be as effective as possible and also have a bit of fun in the process. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful, and I'll see you next